and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay. The building corporation will now consider a proposed lease agreement between the building corporation and Lakeland School Corporation. Mr. Long is here. He's our bond counsel from Ice Miller, and he's going to provide more explanation for us.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to be here again. We're tackling projects structure-wise similar to what we tackled last year. That is doing a first mortgage bond with the building corporation, which is a tried and true method for Indiana school corporations across the state of Indiana to finance capital projects. This year's project, the main focus is Lakeland Intermediate School. There obviously are some other components to the project, dollars permitting. Dr. Lee, I'll put you on the spot, but do you want to talk a little bit about just kind of the facility study and kind of how those priorities were identified?
Can do that, yes. So with our current bond that we have, we are doing a master planning part of that with KRM Architecture and Design Collaborative. We're basing that on work that we had identified by Barton Covillama and by Alvadas. They both came and did walkthroughs of all of our buildings and identified all kinds of things, about $26 million worth of work that needs to be done throughout our corporation. So a lot of that is just regular building maintenance, repair, replacement on life cycles. So that is part of what we're looking at.
All right, thank you. So for the building corporation's consideration seating, we have two resolutions. The first of it is a resolution authorizing the execution of the lease agreement. Again, that is the agreement between the building corporation and the school corporation. Reason for that is with the building corporation being the issuer of the bonds, but the school corporation being the entity that technically handles the repayment of those bonds, that lease agreement basically allows for that to happen. So building corporation issues the bonds, school corporation uses and occupies the property and repays the bonds over time. So Exhibit A in your packets is the consideration for the execution of the lease agreement with Lakeland School Corporation.
Okay. So the school corporation has provided estimates and plans for renovation, the lease of the Lakeland Intermediate School that all members have been provided with, which we have been. It provides for rental during the renovation in the amount of up to $1 million per payment, payable June 30th and December 31st, beginning on June 30th of 2027, until the completion of all renovation and improvements. Thereafter, the lease provides for an annual rental payment in an amount not to exceed $2 million, plus additional rental for taxes and assessments. The school corporation will be granted an option to purchase the property leased under certain conditions after the lapse of a specified amount of time, and the lease will run for 22 years. Before the school corporation can enter into the lease, they must hold a hearing. The expenses for publications of notices is assumed by the building corporation. Having examined this lease and everything in our exhibits, may I have a motion?
I move that the lease agreement between Lakeland Building Corporation and Lakeland School Corporation be approved with all estimates, plans, and expenses for notices to be paid by the building corporation as written, also extending authorization and direction for the officers of this board to initial date and execute said lease agreement.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? All right. We'll go ahead and move on to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, and then our next order of business is the proposed trust indenture, which has been prepared by our counsel for the building corporation. If you wouldn't mind, Mr. Long, would you please explain the trust indenture?
Sure, yes. And I would also add, going back to lease agreement, the parameters in that lease agreement that you mentioned, those were established in concert with Stiefel Nicholas and Company, our bond underwriter. So those are similar to what the school board adopted back in June, basically not to exceed parameters. As I believe Mr. Brugman mentioned, those are always conservatively estimated because we're not selling bonds today, that would come later. And so those are the not to exceed parameters maintained in the lease agreement, similar to what the school corporation undertook last month.
Okay.
Moving back to Exhibit B, the trust indenture itself, again, with the building corporation being the issuer of the bonds, we have a trustee bank, which is actually going to be the bank is the entity that will take the bond proceeds at closing. They have a fiduciary duty with those bond proceeds to not release them except for with the verified affidavits for basically constructing the bond projects. So this resolution includes the authorization to enter into that agreement with the Regions Bank as our trustee. They are a well-known trustee bank who does a lot of work with Indiana Public Schools in this space. And also this resolution establishes some of the maximum parameters around the bond sale. Again, looking at not to exceed parameters, things like a maximum interest rate not to exceed 6%. So if there's a marketplace in the time in which you want to sell the bonds where the interest rates appear to be above 6%, we're going to hold off and not sell bonds. Last but not least, there's a provision regarding what we call the official statement. This is just allowing you guys to delegate to council, bond counsel, myself, and our team to review that official statement and deem that what we call nearly final before it goes out to bond investors. We'll go through that with school administration, with Stiefel, with the fine-tooth comb. That's basically like the prospectus that goes out to potential investors. So this is just the building corporation's authorization for us to go through that process as well.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the trust indenture between the Lakeland School Building Corporation and Regions Bank, dated as of October 1st, 2026, allowing the building corporation to borrow approximately $6,865,000 through the sale of ad valorem property tax first mortgage bonds, bearing an interest rate not to exceed 6% per annum. The trust indenture may become part of the minutes of this meeting, and officers are authorized and directed to sign after review by council. The president and/or secretary are authorized to deem the preliminary official statement as nearly final and distribution approved. Officers may approve expense payment after sale addendum, naming the trustee and reducing the annual rental pursuant to paragraph 2 of the lease. The superintendent and the business manager of the school corporation are appointed as lessor representatives. All officers of this building corporation are authorized to execute all necessary documents and may do so utilizing electronic signatures.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that concludes the business of the Lakeland School Corporation. May I have a motion to
Building
adjourn?
Corporation.
Yes, that.
Building
Building Corporation. Lakeland Building
You
Corporation.
guys can go home now.
That's right. You're welcome.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
I make a motion to
Okay.
adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All right, all those, do we have to do it in favor on this? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
Alrighty.
I believe it's you two that has to do all the signing.
It is. You truly are a free man.
Yeah.
He has
to
You have signed.
Oh, yeah, the
Oh,
one
the
that has
one that
all
says,
three of us.
yeah.
Yes, you have to sign wherever you want.
Second line.
The second line's fine.
So he has parts in this.
Yes.
Oh, that, okay. I see what I'm doing. For a minute there, I thought that was on a different page. I'm like,
Hi, Kyle. We just
No,
finished
you're
the
good
building
to go.
corporation meeting, so we're gonna move into the next meeting as soon as all the signatures are done. Hopefully he can-
Sounds good.
Okay, you can hear me and we can hear him. Bonus day.
Your command of this technology is impressive.
Ugh. I don't know. I can't get this small enough.
Back.
Save it up.
I am not the secretary. Hey, good thing both our names start with the J.
I know. All right, there's that one.
Many lines. You don't have to sign anything, huh?
just one paper.
One paper. All right. Yeah, I was
That's
thinking you
enough,
got
right?
out of this
Vice
pretty
president
nicely.
is the perfect job.
It is.
It really
I
is.
agree. I'm the vice president for the insurance trust, and we had our annual meeting where we have to increase rates and do all that stuff.
course.
And the president decided he couldn't be president that, so I got to run that meeting. That's a great one to have to run.
You went golfing much? Last week.
You should miss one.
You did miss one.
I did.
It was so hot last
Go ahead, I'll get back.
Okay, I'm like,
I was gonna flip through them
This week, we don't have leagues.
before you guys left, if you don't mind.
I do not mind.
Same days.
That way you don't have to come back.
Yeah.
Here, Sue,
I mean, I got.
you can have your spot. I'm all done now.
Thank you, guys.
My pleasure.
Appreciate you.
We've been playing pretty good.
Oh,
Shot 29 at 30 at 9 hole, 2 minutes
It's a little crazy, sorry.
Oh, let's see, probably not. You're here, it's good.
Look, there's two you missed.
Oh my God.
Melissa made them.
better double
You know
check
what?
this one.
You are so guaranteed this job. It doesn't matter how many times you miss. You are still the president. I don't care what they say.
We joined another. I don't know, like 20, 2,500
Fortunately, yes, I am.
for my whole family. But like, this was the last year I could do it cheap.
Those ones, I'm sure.
Yes, I saw that.
And Brady was working.
It's the one on the back.
We actually,
Good seeing you.
let us know, we're open on.
Thirty.
Hey,
Parents get work.
she goes, how old is he? I go, late 20s, early 30s. That was pretty close then. I was right in there.
A couple weeks ago.
I wish they would've
All right, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know where to find us.
Bring my little people with me.
No problem. We love little people here.
like little people.
We're all about the little people.
Right.
You are the red.
do some work, cause we would love to play up there.
It's so fun. I mean,
You're not the red on this.
All where they let the public for like a month.
blue and purple, I'm not gonna lie, are a little bit hard to disseminate a little
Yeah.
bit. That's okay though. I can see it. I'm, cause I'm
Next
not
time I'll do
colorblind.
better.
That's all right.
I improved it for this time.
It's good. It's very nice.
How one Darren is in a way, cause a lot of Lakers.
Improved more than it was. Improved.
We're capped on members.
I don't think they're.
Okay. Next meeting.
They made sure they capped it because of like.
They're cat. Another like.
Yeah, okay, we'll now, start the lease and additional appropriations hearing. I'll call this meeting to order. The next item on the agenda is for the board to hold a lease hearing and additional appropriation hearing in connection with the proposed bond project. If you are interested in speaking at the hearing, please make sure you have signed the sign-in sheet, which should include your name and address. There will be an opportunity for the public to make comments about the lease rental to be paid under the lease and the appropriation of the bond proceeds. At the hearing, we will ask that each person limit their comments to the established board standard and that the topic be limited to the lease rental appropriations of the fund under the consideration. The notices for this hearing were published as legally required. Item 2 is the statement of purpose of the hearing. And
I
I'll
will
take
take
it to
care of
you.
that. All right. Pursuant to the Indiana Code 2047-3, before a school corporation may enter into a lease with a nonprofit building corporation, the school corporation must conduct a hearing regarding the execution of the proposed lease agreement and whether the rental to be paid to the lessor building corporation under the proposed lease is a fair and reasonable rental for the proposed improvements. Similarly, before a school corporation can appropriate any dollars it directly receives as bond proceeds or from the sale of real estate to a building corporation, it must conduct a hearing on those proceeds for the additional appropriation of those funds.
Now the ground rules as to the public input. If a member of the public wish to speak regarding either the lease, finance board, bond, or go bond, please see Melanie and fill out the request to speak. Each statement is limited to 5 minutes and duration per board policy. We will now hear from the administration on the needs for the project.
So there are actually two different bonds that we're doing today. The general obligation bonds, not to exceed $3,150,000, will be used to fund the proposed renovation of an improvement to school facilities and reimbursement of prior capital expenditures, including roofing, the MEP, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, the HVAC improvements, and other deferred maintenance improvements, athletic improvements, site improvements, and the purchase of technology, vehicles, and equipment. The lease bonds with a principal amount of $6,865,000 will fund improvements at Lakeland Intermediate School and other facilities. We have Kyle Kiefaber of KRM Architecture. He is with us virtually, and he's going to review the proposed projects and their estimated costs. These projects would be executed through the lease bond. So I do have a couple extra copies of Kyle's presentation. Do you guys want those? Before we get started?
Going to get a ways, right?
Okay, Kyle, we will turn it over to you.
Do you want me to share my screen?
That would be wonderful if
Yes,
you could
please.
do that.
Perfect.
She's going to maximize you here, I think.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I
that's
think-
scary.
Is that
Sorry,
what
guys.
we're doing here?
Yeah, I know. That's a scary thought.
Okay, there's Kyle. So I probably have to stop sharing, right?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna try to see what I can do here.
Okay, I've stopped. There it is.
Alright, cool.
Let's see. Can I
You should be able to
minimize?
slide that
Just
over.
Just the X.
start
You just
off.
hit the X.
No,
The X up there in the top right.
I think
Okay.
what we tried to do with this
That helped a little
was
bit.
apply.
Can you guys hear me right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about if I do that?
We tried to just look at the projects and, evaluate sort of like what is the range that this project cost and apply some design and engineering to it. Our team, both KRM Architecture and Design Collaborative as the engineers, and then also Adam James, who's on the architecture side of Design Collaborative. But, just tried to, again, apply some engineering design to this to look and see, okay, how we can make some better reasonable estimates and guesses at what the projects could be. And again, we tried to lay out, based on the master planning process that we're going through and getting feedback from, the administration, staff, facilities, the public on, what the needs are. So we laid out a series of projects, with Tracy's help as well on, what this could be to, create an all-encompassing, bond. As contingencies are added in and you get the contingency back, you may be able to pick up other pieces of that project. So that's kind of how that works. The 6 projects that we've, listed with, there's some, bullet points or sub projects within each of these, but basically the playgrounds at the primary school are in Woken Mills. At the primary school, the chiller plant replacement, intermediate school, roof replacement, intermediate school facade replacement, and then I guess I have roof replacement on there twice for some reason, but it is the secure entrance renovation. and then the junior senior high school exterior finish and facade repair. So this is a book, so that's why you're gonna see some odd pages here, but we'll try and run through each of these. So the Wolcott Mills and Primary School, the 2025 bond, Project B, these were initially slated, kind of like what we're doing. You know, you're planning a larger set of projects. We're supposed to be within that. And it does look like, you know, the way the projects are panning out, that we will get one of the playgrounds into that budget. But essentially what we're trying to do is the Wolcott Mills playground is not age appropriate. And so that will be relocated to the primary school, and then another playground set for that is age appropriate will be placed at Wolcott Mills, and then another safe age appropriate playground set will be put at the primary school. There's a lot of I shouldn't say a lot of, but drainage and grading are two things that you have to consider when you're kind of looking at redoing a playground, and making sure that drains appropriately, and that the ground is in a place where it's safe, and the materials used are safe as the ground material. So we are working with Troyer Group, who is the civil consultant on the other bond projects as well, to work on the playgrounds. I'm gonna run through should I run through the projects? And I mean, some of the costs are listed on here, and then there's kind of a summary at the end. Is that?
Yes, that'll work.
So again, this is the highest case scenario, as if this current bond projects will not cover any of these things. And again, the playground selections have not been made. These are just numbers that will cover, a playground of the magnitude that we're looking for. So again, a new playground at Wolcott Mills, age appropriate, handicap accessible, $225,000. The primary school playgrounds, the number basically is figuring in at $125,000 each. The rub there is that pieces of the Wolcott Mills playground will move, be relocated. We've gotten some estimates on that, but $250,000 for both of those is a safe number, assuming that we're going to do relocation. And then basically a $25,000 fee. Some of the costs, I mean, we've already done some of this within this bond, but this $25,000 covers civil engineering, grading, that sort of thing for the projects listed above. Any questions with that? Or am I allowed to ask questions, or am I just reporting?
No, if people have questions, I would welcome them.
Wolcott Mills Playground, how many students is that benefiting?
So if both preschool classes and the special ed preschool class were full, that would be 40, 50 to 60 students.
Yeah. I've expressed my concern about this from the beginning of spending a lot of people's taxpayer dollars on playground that is only going to benefit a small portion of kids. So I hope that we can keep that much below this a
And I thought
maximum
too,
allowable.
there was something to do, like we couldn't move playground sets at some point when we consolidated schools. Why?
We were told that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that very question.
So we have worked with a company I think it's out of Noblesville, if I remember correctly, and they came and looked at all that equipment, and they said that they can move it and it doesn't make it unsafe in any way.
So we didn't know that apparently when we.
We didn't know that then.
We got told otherwise when we because that was brought up about moving from the other buildings when we during the consolidation.
Were we told by somebody that really knew, or somebody that just said, you can't do that?
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. That came from It came from superintendent at the time.
Previous leadership.
So
Just moving forward, no matter what, all the pieces of it, or how does that work?
No, so what he's giving you are all the options that we would like to have in this bond. It doesn't mean that all of them will occur. So just like the playgrounds were in the 2025
Right.
bond and we couldn't do that, I have a feeling playgrounds would go lower
Last.
than a chiller and pump replacement at LPS. So we want to get it done for them, but
Yeah, and another piece of this too is like, if you have this as a budget and this is a line item, and you start to look, and you'll kind of see this at the end, it's like it can flex. Like you, again, this playground isn't designed, so if you said, hey, the max I wanted to spend is $100,000 on this new playground, we can make it $100,000. On the flip side, kind of the way this works is like, for these playgrounds, you can't go above $500,000. At least that's how we sort of plan this out to be. Is like, here's a max you can plan for this. There's options underneath, where you can have that flexibility.
Spend $500,000 on, we just spent $1 million on rooftop.
thank you, Kyle.
Yep. So the chiller plant replacements. I didn't also mention that part of the master plan, I know some of you were there when we gave a community presentation, but there were 2 facility studies done by companies that are not KRM Architecture and Design Collaborative. They both covered different things, and we kind of used those as starting points. I mean, both documents were well over 150 pages. Use those as starting points and kind of investigated from there. They had estimated costs in with those things, so that helped give us a starting point as well. Both of those facility studies, maintenance, staff, people that have worked on this chiller and pump, the chiller plant at the primary, the refrigerant is not made anymore. It's over 25 years old. It's at the end of its life cycle. Everyone kind of agrees on that. And as part of this current bond, we're redoing all the unit ventilators and putting new equipment in there. And then that's being like essentially powered and supplied by, this more ancient piece of equipment. And so that makes it so it cannot run as efficiently as it can, which therefore is, I look at that as dollars, right? Like if something's not running efficiently, like, you're spending extra dollars, expending energy that are taxpayer dollars. So, and again, if you're getting a 25, 30-year life cycle out of something, like the replacement of it, really, really makes a lot of sense. The facility studies for this estimated $650,000 plus engineering fees to replace, this chiller plant and pump. And our team looked at it and have done some very similar ones of similar sizes. And we think a very safe number is $450,000 plus engineering fees. They did not really talk about escalation in those facility studies. So again, the way inflation's been going and the way costs have been going and all that sort of thing, really you should be planning 5% escalation every year that this isn't accomplished from this $450,000 number.
Yeah.
That's something to consider. Any questions on that?
No, none here.
All right, as part of the, so moving to the intermediate school, it's the HVAC replacement. So, this was brought up, by the facility studies. It was brought up, from the maintenance department. This was something that we're doing at the other two buildings, so LIS is kind of the outlier and the one that has the lowest equipment. And, the recommendations for both of them were that you get you start a process of replacing the entire HVAC system. The piping, the equipment, like some of the equipment has been replaced. The heat pump. So right now it's a heat pump system. It's been very difficult to manage, and there's a lot of things that can happen in the system that, you get a room that's 90 degrees, you get a room that's 60 degrees, doesn't work. In schools, Design Collaborative is the engineer on this, and they really recommend, the 4-pipe system with the unit ventilators like we have at the primary school and at the junior, senior high school. And so with this system being in its stage of needing replacement, and even like what I've never really heard before is like the piping is aging out. So like, if nothing else, you have to go in and replace the piping sooner, or else you're going to start getting leaks and degradation from that.
We've already started. We had a leak last
The
week.
studies suggested an $8.1 million, replacement cost. And Jason Baker, who, he's been the engineer for all these other projects that we're working on at Lakeland, really put some time into this. And he thinks it could be, somewhere in the range of 6 to 7 million as a full project. And then you should break it down into 3 phases, or, as money allows. And, with this bond, I think we have 6.8 million, thereabouts. So, that would kind of eat up that entire bond. But he broke it out into 3 different phases here, with phase 1 being, $1.75 to $2 million. And that's starting and adding a new chiller and pumps to serve, phase 1 and phase 2 with a 4-pipe system. And, part of what makes this really difficult is the equipment that is serving the other 2 phases that you don't do still has to stay in place. So you put in the new equipment, it starts working off of phase 1, works off of phase 2, and then you can gradually add to it when you get to phase 3. And then at phase 3, then you demo the rest of the equipment and you pull out, the piping as you go down each phase. There's a lot of above ceiling work that this is involved in. So that's makes this a little bit complicated. And then again, you think about escalation on this, and he, I believe, figured that into each of these estimates, if you were to do it in 3 successive years or something like that. But you could get up to 10% escalation per year for every year that you don't tackle a piece of this. And
I would add
planning.
too, Kyle, that we did replace all the piping, I believe, at the high school when we did that project, and there is no way that we could have done that without all of the ESSER funds that we had to be able to put towards that project also. So, I mean, the bond that we took out to do the junior senior high did not cover all of the HVAC work that we had to have done. We utilized the rest of our ESSER money to do that.
So yeah, Jason, I mean, I will say he had a number that was a little bit lower than this. And then I think like when you start to figure in escalation, you figure in, the complications and contingency, like this is what you sort of get to. And sorry, this is kind of how the phasing would work. Orienting, here's the front entry, the main entry right here. It's, oriented north-south. So you would start with new chiller and boiler plant here, phase 1, phase 2, then phase 3, and then you come back and you demo and then add for the phase 3 that you've added for 1 and 2 to start with. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Any questions with that? This is for the roof replacement. Again, referencing the studies, so, one of the studies had Garland, who is a roofing contractor, come out and did a very extensive review. And they, they recommended and took a lot of pictures showing that, I'll reference a few of these here, that the roof is in very, very poor condition. It's had a lot of patching done to it. And again, you can reference these, facility studies for additional pictures. But their estimated cost to rip off and replace, which included insulation. So again, I think they were trying to plan for like, what is the absolute worst case scenarios, about $4.2 million, if I remember correctly, for 95,000 square foot of roof, which was extremely high. Just that was the first thing that we all kind of looked at on our team was, okay, that seems very high. What was all in that? And we looked at it, and I think it had a lot of contingency and pieces built in. But when we looked at it, there were kind of two options. And also, I know Jared, since he has started looking at this and getting quotes, and has had people come out and pour the roof to see, okay, is the insulation dry? Is there enough insulation? What's the makeup of the roof? And I think we have some pretty good info on that. The Roofing Expert Design Collaborative, and I guess our entire architecture team, thinks there's probably a little bit more investigation that we should do, but just to make sure, and I'll go into that in a second, but the complete replace and recover, so with the PVC roof, so it's 20-year warranty, but really it's a 50-year roof. The estimated cost for that is $2.375 million. That's to redo the entire thing. That includes like copings and all that sort of thing, flashings. And then the other option that Jared has been getting quotes on is sort of a recover method. And what it does is you're taking a new EPDM roof, which your current roof is EPDM, which is rubber, and you're essentially going over the top of the existing roof. It can work in a lot of cases. The issues that you might have are that you're trapping moisture in there. So that's why, the cores and really understanding like what is under the roof is really, really important, because when you start trapping moisture, you start getting mold, and then you start getting things falling from the inside of the building, which is not good. And, that can lead to more problems if you're spending a lot of money on, a recovery system. So I think there's some investigation that you want to do that can really help guide that. But I think by all intents and purposes, like you could recover the roof, and yeah, you may have some patching where, again, like you can't just like cover over this roof where it's like creased and, has delaminated from the side of the roof. So like there's some repair in there. And I think the different roofing companies have based on their quotes, which I've seen, have accounted for some of that. So again, that's a $600,000, number, which again, includes, our team's CA to help oversee that, as well as, the cost, to do the roof from the roofing contractor. Any questions with that?
No, none here.
Press me.
So the intermediate school facade replacement. I'm not going to zoom in and show you all these. For those of you who have the packet, what this piece is essentially, we took the exterior. Well, let me back up. The exterior of the building is in really bad shape. It's been painted, it's been patched. There's holes in it. Animals have been seen running up and down inside the walls and holes, and insects. And, that tells me a couple things, like the insulation that's supposed to be behind the metal is not there, it's compromised. And so you're losing energy efficiency there. There's no air barrier. Again, like these are full panels, so we can't exactly just like take one off the wall at this moment, like without, having a project to really dive into that. There's an investigation that you can do for this, which we would do. But essentially we went through and took every elevation and took every, material, accounted for it from a square footage perspective, looked at its quality. So here, sorry, I realized. Here's some examples of this. This one, I mean, these holes like at the base here, cracking in the brick, stuff like that. This is pretty consistent all the way around. Entrances are still like have rust and holes. But this one actually is kind of interesting. The paint, the lifetime of the paint has been so bad that you're getting rust, inside and around the seams. So, imagine what's behind the wall that you can't see is, I guess, kind of how I look at that. I think it's way past its prime in terms of being able to try and patch and fix and repaint and anything like that. So we looked at a couple different options to do that. There's 3 different options that we provided pricing on. There's an insulated metal panel that there's insulation in the panel that's laminated together, and you put it on, with a furring strip. It acts sort of as an air barrier. There's a metal panel that, gets put on a traditional wall system where, most of this building is blocked. So you'd have furring, you'd have a weather barrier, and the metal would get attached to the furring, and then there would be insulation between that. Without knowing everything that's behind that option is actually the most costly. To me, it even seemed kind of counterintuitive, but it's just because we don't know what it is. So we're accounting for, hey, we have to replace everything back to the original wall or the CMU and substrate. So taking into account those costs, and then fiber cement panels. So like everyone knows, like hardy siding, in a lot of commercial settings, there's fiber cement panels that are made for commercial settings, and they're being used in schools a lot, because it's a good alternative to brick. It's a more cost-effective alternative to brick. And you can get it, it's a through body color, so if it chips and dents, like you don't see it, where you would a traditional like hardy siding, like if the paint scrapes off. You can get it in about every color imaginable. And then you can set it on either a substrate or a rain screen, which we've accounted for a rain screen, which is a better approach in terms of insulation and performance. So again, I just provided a couple different options of like looks that we could explore for the entire facade. It also doesn't have to be one material. We could look at a combination of, fiber cement and metal panel, depending on what is being seen and what is not seen. So 3 different levels of cost. What we did is we took, the square footage of each material, again, like I mentioned on each facade, and went through it and assigned cost to replace that. And over here where it says repair scope, it discusses what the actual scope of repair for that is. Now, what we didn't do, because I think this gives you a better picture, is say, okay, well, on this facade, you don't need to replace all the brick, or you don't need to repair all the brick. You don't need to replace every piece of glass. You don't need to replace all the EFIS or all the metal. Like, you probably need to replace all the metal. But point being is, once this becomes a project, we can really evaluate it and, start examining it in more detail to say, okay, hey, this line item can come off. We don't need to fix this soffit, which I use soffit. We probably need to fix the soffit, but um,
Keep using things we need to fix, Kyle.
so again, there's 3 different price points to this per square foot. Again, the metal siding one, like those could come down if what's behind the wall is better than we anticipate.
And just,
But I think
you know,
this-
just to be clear
this
for the
feedback-
board, we aren't deciding how
Yeah.
we do it at this meeting. What we're deciding is this a project for this bond, basically? So.
Yeah. And so the 3 tiers of cost, again, the facility studies estimated $1.9 million plus design fees and design and engineering fees. What we got to, including design and engineering fees, contingency and all that, at our highest end option was 1.825 million. The lowest option, which is the fiber cement, 1.1, almost 1.2 million for full replacement of everything all the way around. I should say full replacement and repair, like a lot of the brick just needs tuck pointing. Any questions with that? This is the secure entrance and office rework. There's no secure entrance at LIS right now. The office is very small. In order to make a secure entry work, basically what you need to have is the office needs to be connected to the outer facade of the building so that you can have a vestibule where traffic flows and is controlled from outside to vestibule to into the office and then into the school. So you have a series of control points that allow that to happen. Again, just to orient everybody, the reception area is just off the gym here and a decent ways away from the vestibule. A couple things that we noticed, the teacher's lounge and staff space, it could be way more efficient and be shrunk down and still work the exact same way that it does now. The media center is underutilized again, from when I went to school here to when, the kids that go here now, the age difference, doesn't allow the media center to be used at its full capacity and square footage. So that's something we took into account here. And then also looking at the larger site, moving it to the south. And again, from a control perspective of the site, you have an entrance here, and you have some space to play with. If it's not a gym or a restroom, moving it to the south, moving the new entrance to the south makes a lot of sense. Again, here's some photos that kind of describe, what I was just talking about relative to each of those pieces. There's also, we just talked about the facade. There's a good amount of repair that has to happen on that. There's a good amount of repair that has to happen in this plaza. And another thing that we did was we started to look at, okay, from a broader view, how could this site work a little bit differently and work more efficiently and benefit, sort of the athletic fields in the north and be a little bit more pedestrian friendly, traffic friendly. So essentially what we did was look at putting in the staff parking here near the road, kind of where the existing soccer field is, locating a playground between that and the school, and then, but this whole area can essentially become a playground, and then your buses and that can circulate through here. We've also talked about we're adding a loop from the maintenance barn down to the middle school. Could we pave that? And then the bus loop really comes through up this drive that's here for the maintenance barn and down this way. So it essentially could, be a trade-off for this new pavement. you get 78 parking spaces here. And then looking at, you can kind of see the overlay behind this, but reducing the parking there because it, you know, again, it's some of it's moving to the south. This could become a, you know, a pedestrian zone area for a future restroom pavilion, concessions pavilion. It services a lot of the athletic fields here. Moving the new intermediate school soccer field here. This is the game field. And then what that does is just basically shifts the practice field south just a little bit. You can kind of see, you know, we even looked at, okay, how did the buses queue? How did the cars queue? And if the cars queue starting here, you know, and all the way around here, you have 58 spaces for queuing, you know, for parent pickup. And then this is one of the options, and there's 3, but a 4,000 square foot addition that basically relocates the office, you know, to the front on the, you know, to the north side there. And also providing a dumpster enclosure here that's much needed. Right now it's just kind of out in the open. So the 3 options that, again, this is based on trying to provide a range of pricing. Having an addition, you know, to the west. This covers the windows here, the only windows in the front of the building. Providing a secure entrance vestibule. So again, you can come in this entrance vestibule, the control point for the reception brings you in, and then you can exit out into the school. That's option 1. Option 2 is to repurpose the 2 classrooms, do the secure entrance vestibule here, and then convert the existing office space into 1 large classroom, 2 large classrooms. And then if you start to look at how to break up the media center and shrink, you know, the staff space a little bit, you can get 2 additional classrooms by building a hallway that connects, you know, through the media center here through to the other side. So again, this is looking at renovation cost versus addition cost, which is significant. I'll show you here in a second. And then the other is even a reduced version of that where you don't do anything with the media center. That can be a different project, but you place the office with those 2 classrooms. And then you replace those 2 classrooms, you know, with the office space here. There's a lot of cost in this, and we broke out, again, all the different things that you can look at, from asphalt resurfacing, new pavement, all that. Doing all of the site stuff, assuming you have to, which I don't necessarily believe you have to, but it's good to take this into account, depending on when this project happens, would be $1.4 million. And then with soft costs, meaning, you know, contractor, overhead, general conditions, contingency, design fees, about 1.8 million for the site work, you know, reorienting the site, all that. Option A, so using costs from our existing bond project for an addition, $425 a square foot at 4,000 square feet. That by itself is $1.7 million. Then the renovation to the existing office space at 1,800 square feet, $245,000 approximately. So you get about $2 million just in construction costs. You start looking at contingency, general conditions, contractor overhead, design fee, new furniture, permitting. That option's $2.6 million. So early on, I kind of estimated about 2.5 for that project. This by itself goes over, not accounting for any site work. Option B moves everything as a renovation cost. This renovation cost is a little bit higher than our current project renovation costs, to kind of be safe. Which is the office portion of that, because that would account for some facade replacement as well. And putting in like a new sort of canopy entrance, almost $5 million for the construction, with all of the soft cost contingency stuff. That option is $2 million. And then I'll skip to the bottom of this, but the option C, which is, the reduced renovation, $1.4 million all in. So this is just 3 steps in that project, but you essentially get the range for what that could be, right? There's a lot there. Anybody have any questions?
A lot to take in there for first time seeing it, so. Obviously, the exterior of the building's a major concern.
Yeah, that's it.
All of that. Rodents and insect penetration.
How old is that building?
80.
I don't remember.
Yeah, intermediate. What the age is? 78?
Wow, it's that old.
Yeah. Hey,
Easy.
78's not that old.
Well.
I did too.
Yeah, okay.
Kyle, no, I would say I just appreciate all the options, obviously. There's a lot to take in as we look at, there's just a lot that needs fixed. So lots of options and lots of conversations that will need to be had.
The last option, or the last project I would say, is looking at the high school, junior, senior high school facade repair and like completing it. I know some of you have seen this, but this is kind of where we are at now in the high school. And what we looked at originally was trying to pick a color scheme that, because within the master plan, looking at the exterior of the high school, it's also in a different state of disrepair than the intermediate school, but it's masonry. There's lots of cracking, lots of holes, plywood patching painted to match where the ephes is, this brown, like some of it's ephes, some of it's stucco, some of it's plywood painted.
Plywood.
If you walk through the school, you don't see it because the school is far enough away from the road, but like when you actually get up and look at it and start looking at photos, it's pretty significant. And even like these control joints and expansion joints that are dry and like dehydrated, it's like water is infiltrating the building at these points.
Sure.
So, holes, cracks, foundation cracks. So what we tried to do was look at, back to this, look at a color scheme that we could like stain this brick as you tuck point it. You stain it, you pick a new material that's more durable, easier to replace than ephes and stucco. And so that's where the blue metal came from. And then again, it looks good with the addition, but since you're already doing the entrance addition, do you want to finish complete repair, get rid of all the maintenance issues that you have on the exterior of the building and create one consistent look? The scope for that, we did this the very exact same way as the facade. If you want me to go through it in that kind of detail, I will. Or as the LIS facade, I will.
I think we can all look it over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the big point here is at the end, there's 3 different costs at 3 different levels. There's the cost to repair it, assuming you can find the same brick and the same mortar color and all that with no staining. The repair works $366,000 just in construction cost. The cost with staining all of the brick, it's not that's everything but the aux gym, $475,000. And then the cost with doing everything, including the aux gym, you know, all the masonry repair work, metal work, $558,000 in construction cost. And then when you figure in, you know, soft costs of just doing the drawings, general conditions, stuff like that, $574,682. This also takes into account that because we're having work done in the high school and because there's masonry that's being done as part of this project and the site is being supervised, you know, once construction starts for 18 months, this bond overlaps with the other one. Can you add this project to that scope and save, you know, 15 to 20% in general conditions and remobilization costs? So
Thanks, Aaron.
that's what this is taking into account. If you do this project on its own later, it probably jumps
Thank
up
you.
by 15% of cost.
Hope that works in a perfect world.
Right.
Um, last thing, oh, come on now. The last thing and kind of like looking at the overall, you know, range of both of these things. So what I did with these two options is I went and I took the cost for all of the things at their highest level. So primary school, Wilkie Mills playgrounds, the chiller plant, LIS roof, exterior facade, secure entrance, LIS HVAC replacement at its highest phase one cost, and then the facade replacement. That's $8 million. Now, again, within all that, you could squeeze those things down. Our goal when we met last week was let's shoot for 6.2 million in terms of like planning for cost. When I took the exact same things and used the lower end options and took the most optimistic approach, all the optimistic approaches I will say are still conservative in nature. But that came to 6.35 million, which is under the bond amount. And that also includes adding, you know, a piece that we didn't do as part of the current project B, which was painting and replacing the lighting in the primary school gym for $150,000. And that is an alternate cost that we got as part of the project. So that also might want to be included, but the, you know, again, if you remove this cost, we are essentially at what we wanted to be at. I know that was a lot.
That was a lot.
Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate you going over that in detail. We will now open the public hearing. Remember, if you'd like to speak, please sign the paper with Melanie. We ask that you state your name and address, comments, proposed rent. The proposed rent to be paid under the lease and appropriations of the bond proceeds. Keep any comments to, I said earlier, 5 minutes. And avoid being repetitive if possible. May I have, do we have a sign-in sheet? Okay. And now I would begin calling names, but I don't have any. So, all right. Mr. Long, could you please summarize the resolution authorization execution of the lease?
Yes, and just to preface, we do have, as you can see on the screen, 7 separate resolutions for consideration this evening. The first 5 are related to what Mr. Kefauver just presented on. That's all I'll call it the new money project with respect to what we just had the building corporation meeting on. As you recall, is not to exceed all-in parameter of roughly $6.8 million. So the first 5 resolutions for your consideration this evening are with respect to that. The last 2 are with respect to what Dr. Blaze mentioned was a separate project, a consideration for a general obligation bond, not related to what was just presented. more looking, kind of backwards looking, if you will, for things that are capital in nature, that could have been bonded for, but were not at any given time, looking back a number of years and just kind of seeking reimbursement for those. So with that, the first resolution for the board's consideration this evening is that resolution authorizing the execution of the lease, essentially counter-signing and counter-executing what the building corporation just met on a little while ago here. So under Title 20, after the lease hearing, the board must approve the lease agreement and authorize the officers to execute this lease agreement. And again, this is the mechanism where the building corporation, as the issuer of the bonds, contracts with the school corporation, who is the party who actually repays those bonds over time.
Could I now have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution authorization execution of the lease?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? None opposed. Motion carries. Mr. Long, could
Second
I?
resolution?
Yep.
Yep.
Signing the construction bids and contracts.
Yeah, so the second resolution is, like you just said, the resolution assigning construction bids and contracts to the building corporation. This I'll classify just a reservation of rights resolution. So eventually, we're not there yet, obviously. The building corporation would be the issuer of the bonds. We're not at a point where we're awarding bids in any way, shape, or form. But this resolution basically says that when that time does come, with the building corporation being the issuer of the bonds, sometimes it makes sense to assign contracts to the building corporation just so the dollars match up to the contracts. Not required, but some folks prefer it that way. So we're just allowing the school board the ability to assign those contracts if it is beneficial, recommended by your design construction professionals.
Could I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution assigning construction bids / contracts to the building corporation once received?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And none opposed, motion carries. Could we summarize the resolution authorizing the third supplement, master continuing disclosure, undertaking, and issuance of the bond?
Yes, so a couple boxes we're checking here. Obviously, the issuance of the bonds is the school board signing off on the building corporation, eventually issuing the bonds down the road. In addition, there is what we refer to as our continuing disclosure undertaking agreement. It's basically for any potential bond investors, letting them know that during the duration of the bond issue, the school corporation is going to provide certain information. So things like your annual Form 9 data, your state board of accounts audits, whenever those are completed and released to the public, and things like your annual enrollment data, things like that that bond investors consider from time to time.
Okay, could I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution authorizing third party supplement to the master continuing disclosure, undertaking, and issuance of the bond?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? None opposed, motion carries. Could you please summarize the additional appropriation resolution for the 26 lease bonds?
Yes, and I will point out as a side note, these two additional appropriation resolutions, because they're related to bonds, they're going to be for informational purposes only to the DLGF, which is in contrast, a lot of your other appropriations have to be approved by them. This is more just for their information. So this first one, again, this is with respect to the lease bond. Our general counsel, Bill Everhart, is undertaking a deep dive on real estate. If it comes to pass that there needs to be any kind of appraisal and sale of school property, there would come onto the school board side or the school corporation side of the ledger potential dollars for that. So this is accounting for, again, the potential sale of any property if necessary in order to close on that building corporation bond issue. And again, because the potential exists that you'd have money coming to the school corp side of the ledger, we just have an appropriation resolution for that.
Okay. Could I have a motion and a second to adopt the additional appropriation resolution for the 26 lease bonds?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? None opposed. Motion carries. Okay. So we need to do another additional appropriation, correct?
Additional appropriation resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pivoting away from the lease financing and pivoting back onto the general obligation bonds. So the GO bond actually will result, when we close on those, that will result in bond proceeds being receipted by the school corporation. So what we're doing here is having a resolution. Notice is already provided, obviously, similar to the last one as well. Having a resolution to have an additional appropriation for the receipt of those bond proceeds at closing in the year in which we are going to close on those bond proceeds. So this is, again, separate, and this is because we're doing a general obligation bond for which we know the school corporation will receive those proceeds.
And this is for Exhibit E, or is this Exhibit F?
This is
I'm sorry.
Exhibit. Oh, wait, let me double check. I have my minutes here. This is Exhibit E.
Okay. I want to make sure that I was in the right spot here. Okay. All right, thank you. And could I have a motion and a second to adopt the additional appropriation resolution for the 26 lease bonds?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries with none opposed. 10 is the additional appropriation resolution for the 26 taxable general obligation bond.
Oh, that one, sorry, that's a repeat on my part. We did that.
Okay, that's why I was asking.
That's why, yes, okay, sorry. So we can skip now ahead to the last one for consideration seeking, which is the final bond resolution. So I'll just go ahead and describe that briefly here. With respect to the GO bonds, this contains a lot of the detailed information about the GO bonds. So the project costs, again, maximum interest rates under which we would sell these bonds, and other financial terms such as the first and last potential payment dates on the bonds. Also approves the contract with a registrar and paying agent. Again, similar to Regions Bank being the trustee on the lease bonds. We need a registrar and paying agent to govern the repayment of the bonds. So we have Regions Bank in that role for the GO bonds as well. And similar to what we approved for the lease bonds, we also include the authorization of the execution of the continued disclosure undertaking with respect to these GO bonds. So a lot of information, all contained within that one resolution.
A lot of words.
A lot of words.
Okay, could I have a motion and a second to adopt the final bond resolution for the 2026 taxable general obligation bond?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion does carry, none opposed. Okay, this concludes the business of the lease and additional appropriation hearing. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, Sue second. All in favor? Motion carries.
Would you like to take a break before the next meeting?
Yeah, is there any? We can take a break real quick if everyone would like that. We've been at this for quite a while.
Kyle, I'm gonna hang up on you now.
Please.
Sounds good.
Talk to you later. Thank you.
Sorry, did I just take your pen?
Yeah.
My bad.
That's okay. I'm not worried about it.
That one. The regular meeting should go a little quicker.
That was a lot. Thank you guys for powering through.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
You can explain it all much better than I can explain it all.
Yeah, I'll take it. I will take it. Thank you very much.
Just
Yeah.
to finish up my brain, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You want to sign these two, and then you two have all of
You
those.
two are free to go.
Actually, you have one more
Is
packet
that
here.
bond related stuff?
I'm working on it.
Okay, okay. You do what you gotta do.
I have a pattern in my brain.
Dangerous.
But it seems to get it all done, so.
Don't talk to pitcher when she's throwing a no-hitter.
Right?
These as well, right?
All the reds.
All the reds?
Yep.
Open the pen first.
Hey, no, it's. I'll look, see if I can get it to him. 'Cause there was
I hear
only
you
two
guys
on that
talking
one, so
about
we-
parking. I've already told them that's a bad idea, so.
Having the parking right around the playground, or?
No, well, that part's not so bad because that would be the
Grass area
teacher
or
parking,
whatever.
so
Oh,
the
yeah.
playground
They
wouldn't be in
wouldn't
use.
yeah.
It's, he's cutting back on the
Yeah, the
parking
park-
over towards the soccer and the softball, and I
Yeah.
said that's
Probably be
not
able to see it
gonna
when
work.
you give it to Rob.
I saw that too. I was like, that's
That doesn't, nothing was said about the inside. Right at the inside of the.
Right.
yeah, that's a whole nother.
We're
Like the other
going for the outside, I know, we're going for the.
It's not like you're gonna
envelope
do it, it's just
Because if
a little overkill.
it's not
Yeah, it doesn't
gonna do
matter.
us any good, and
There are some things on there. We probably need to talk about this.
Yeah. And again, this is like an estimate of what would these costs look like so that we know we have enough in the bond to do at least some of them.
Yep.
It's not necessarily,
Yeah, I mean that was like every option possible.
yeah, that was all of it.
Yeah, which is good to
When do I get my house?
Yeah.
Well, every option is what has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta put every option on there.
And I did ask, Jason is his name, he's the HVAC guy for Design Collaborative, and I said, okay, you keep talking about the 4-pipe system, which means we have to put in all new piping because what we currently have doesn't run on that. Is that
I don't know if I
the
put
thing
this in
for us
all
to
correct,
do, or
but it's
should we
somewhere
stick
in
with
there.
these heat pumps? And he said, you definitely should switch to the 4-pipe system. The heat pumps just are not gonna cut it for this building.
It's a
So,
mess.
I find it interesting. It says we covered windows in the back of that building too.
mhm.
I didn't know there was windows back there.
How do we know that?
No, I did that on
Right,
purpose.
it's the same thing that he was also
Oh.
said, so, I mean, we've.
You want me to
heard it
just-
from
No,
that we
you
need
did
to
when you
switch
grabbed
to
I mean, probably in probably after 15 years after they're probably leaking and they just covered them.
Handy to place your own equipment, you know, you have a little bit of.
Yeah.
Wait a minute,
Yeah.
how do we know that?
Talked about
It
getting
has
the
to
light bulb
be
to the
moved by a
Oh, that's
person
yours.
that's
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
certified,
I got
licensed,
two.
whatever in it,
Got it.
but,
I always
yeah.
do extra copy.
I think we
in
should
case
go for
something
bouncy
happens
houses and
you
little
lose
pipes.
something,
Right?
you call everybody
There you
back.
go.
Way under 250,000.
Oh, yeah, I don't anticipate the Wilkett Mills playground being that much.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Aaron.
Obviously,
Safe
we'll
travels.
Work through
Yeah.
Tracy and Jamesy on fine tuning of the budget and looking towards the fall for the bond sale. So,
Awesome.
thanks for the opportunity to be
Thank you.
here.
Thank you. Okay, now, we'll begin our regular meeting here. Call this meeting to order. 2 is our considerations of agenda additions or deletions. We have none. Invitations to members of the audience to speak to items on the agenda. Okay, communications, we don't have any. That takes us to reports.
Oh, so the people are here in the audience. So I just wanted to update you on the school board races. Bob Bond will be rejoining the board as he's running unopposed. Ben Brown will join the board as he is also unopposed. And then Bill Park and Carrie Cassart are going to fight it out for one of the seats. So I also want to give you the end of year enrollment, same numbers as what I presented at the last board meeting. So we ended the year at 1395, which is a decrease from the year before of 38 students and a decrease of 2 from the month before. So also we talked about this was a huge graduating class, and right now are we at 89-ish, 86? We're in the 80s on kindergarten again, fair to say. So that is a large difference. So we do look to open the year much smaller than we closed the year. All right, and then the teacher evaluation report. I'm required each year to report to you that we have done all our teacher evaluations and give you an idea how they came out. So you can see that 59 of our teachers were effective, 44 were highly effective, and we had 1 in the needs improvement category. And then treasurer's report.
So we're at 50% of the year. We have collected year to date of $6.8 million in the ed fund, or 53.77% of our expected collection. In the ops fund, we've collected 4.169 million, or 61.2%. We did receive 3.4 million in taxes to the ops for the June settlement. Expenditure wise, we've spent just a little over $7 million in the ed fund, or 55.5% of the revenue budget, and 3.6% in the ops fund, or 53.5% for the year there. And some of our big expenditures out of the ops fund, we did have $42,000 in annual software renewals that came out. So we kind of get hit, I know, January and then again in June for those big ones. We did purchase a floor scrubber for LIS. They did not have one, so we were sharing. So we did purchase that. We had copy release payments that are annual, and we had $33,000 in door replacement repairs and things for all for the high school. Which is a huge. We had $11,000 in HVAC work done, and we did have some irrigation and needs done for out behind here. So.
And we got sewer coming up.
And the sewer's coming up. We do get some good news on that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys all saw those numbers. So
Came in
we're
under,
going to save a little bit on that. And it's going to come out. Was it what, $106,000?
I believe.
$1,000 for the sewer work that's going to start. They actually were marking today for utilities and stuff. So we're hoping in the last week of July.
This is the one that's gonna be cutting it close, right? You're holding
Yeah.
your breath.
Yeah,
The one that's
it's gonna be cutting.
causing me to break out in hives.
Yeah, but it's much needed because that is
Oh,
when they did the engineering on it, deemed that it was we're basically
Fails.
praying that it stays. That it would work. So we're operating on prayers right now on that sewer system. So that's just it would take out, if it were to fail, it would take out the cafeteria and everything.
Close the school.
Yeah, it would close the school, so everything like where the
Yeah.
benches are in the middle there,
Mhm.
everything to the south of that,
Yeah.
would be affected. So it's more than half the school would be affected by that. But anyway,
Our original estimation of that was 500,000 to have repaired, right? Originally.
we were thinking it was gonna be a lot, and then we got another smaller one, and then this is even less, so we've whittled it down to a lot less than what we thought it was gonna be. Originally we thought we were gonna have to go through more of like the parking lot and do a lot of parking lot
Right.
repair work and stuff. Found a way to not have to do that, so that's cutting down the cost quite a bit.
That's good.
So, yeah. So at least,
Why are we in deficit funding in the ed fund this month?
okay, so, we are in deficit funding because we had the, special ed bill come out, which was like $253,000. So that's our biggest, I believe June is our bigger bill, than the December bill. We pay that. And we also
had the
had teacher
contract.
contract payouts, so we had some long-term teachers and things that were here and retiring. Yeah.
We got the ops fund looking better, and then we were red in the ed fund.
I know.
I was ready to bring that up, but
Overall, yeah.
We're up.
They're both in the black, so.
Yes,
Yeah.
I see
But
that.
so that, unfortunately, June is, not sometimes the greatest month for the ed fund, but
Okay,
anyway.
thank you.
Yep.
And is there any more questions for Jamesy? Okay. Thank you. School board president's report. I just wanted to thank Bill and Bob for being here. Appreciate you guys coming. I know it was helpful for me when I was coming on the board to get kind of acclimated to what was new and coming on. So Bob encouraged me to do that back then. So it's nice, nice to see them here. So appreciate you guys being here. That's all I have. We'll move right into new business here. The ECA spending approval.
This is the annual request that will allow the principals and the athletic director to spend their extracurricular activity money.
I have a question on this.
Mhm.
So you're saying their extracurricular account?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
It's a state board of accounts rule.
Yeah.
that we have to have board approval for, yeah.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
We did it last.
Yeah.
Well, I
We
know,
did.
I wanted to verify that
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, it's their money, it's their, you know, they have, but, yeah.
okay, all right. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Number 2 is the overnight field trips.
So we have some regular overnights that we do, FFA trips, things like that. And also we're always hopeful that we might need some overnight trips for our athletics, such as wrestling. Sometimes those requests come after the event has happened. So this way we have an approval for overnight trips from you for the year.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Number 3 is a policy update.
Yeah, there were a lot of policies updated after this last legislative session. So you've been provided with the spreadsheet that has a summary of all that. You also have all of the policies and the changes that occurred in those. I'd be happy to ask any question or answer any questions that you might have. Shelley and Derek are on that committee and have gone through those.
Can you read those for me, Shelley? real quick?
You
It
guys,
was a lot.
do you guys have anything to share to the board? Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the policy 38, volume 38, number 2, April 26.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries.
Yay, we're caught up until they change it again.
All right, this is ECA software.
Yes, this
Renewal.
is, I think Jamesy can probably talk more about
So
it, but
this is, this, software that our secretaries use at the school, so it's not my software here at work, but it's all the software that they use at the buildings to maintain all the accounts that everybody has, so. It's just they're moving to a cloud-based system, we've been on the old system for a long time. Yeah, as long as we could, and they're literally kicking us off at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So we have to, move into something different. So that's the agreement for that.
Okay, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Number 5, advertised budget.
All right, so it's that time of year again. I just need permission to advertise our budget. So
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries. 6 is the junior senior high handbook revision overview.
so you've been given an overview of what the changes are and the handbook as a whole. And Jason is here if you have any questions over that.
Is there any questions before we get a motion? Okay. You go
You
ahead.
guys approved the handbook the last time. We
Right.
had a Really good discussion with the staff about why grades were some of the way they were. And one of the big pieces out of our staff came back of kids struggling to do homework and turn it in. So we started reaching around. Joanne Gillespie reached out to Prairie Heights. They have something extremely similar in their handbook we based ours off of, which is just this homework intervention time. So on Fridays, I think you guys kind of got this breakdown.
Yeah.
Any kid, we're just gonna pilot it 7, 8, and 9 next year. I think it's a good idea for the whole school. I just think rolling something out like that large would be hard to implement and see kind of work the bugs out with the most vulnerable homework grades. Usually our sophomores, juniors, seniors are getting their homework done.
Yeah.
And they're that close to it, they're doing well with it. So handling those 3 grades. So on Friday, any student that has 3 or more missing assignments, there's a Power School report that syncs with that, and we can pull that. Get a hold, and they'll be assigned a homework intervention time, which is that next week. It runs on Thursday nights. So on Tuesday, We'll run the report on Monday for anybody that was missing assignments the previous week. You have 3 or more, you get assigned that. We'll let you know that you have that on Thursday. Even if you get the stuff done, there's no getting out of that time. You've got that homework intervention time on that Thursday, if you had those missing assignments from the previous week. Notify the parents on Tuesday through our new parent square, and then also send a paper home with the kid on Wednesday to have them say, here's our missing assignments, have the parents sign it, get it back to us on Wednesday. Serve the stuff, get the intervention, get their homework done, get caught up on Thursday. We all go about our lives, and the kid is better off for having done it.
And if they don't?
Then it turns into a refusal and turns into a disciplinary situation where they then have a Friday detention for an hour. Refuse to serve that, and then it continues to escalate through the progressive discipline handbook. Talking to Andy Arndt over at Prairie Heights about it, he said they have very little of that. Earlier when they first adopted it 4 or 5 years ago, but that has really worked itself out tremendously over the last 4 or 5 years over there. So I anticipate a large crowd the first few weeks of it, but I think that word will get around that if you're not doing the assignments and turning them in, then you're gonna have to do them.
Who will monitor that, Jason?
Right now, rotating it through this administrative staff.
Oh, okay.
But we'll see if it needs to be staffed a different way or anything like that.
I used to do that way back when I was AP at the middle school.
I'd be there every Friday.
Thursday.
What's Thursday?
Thursday, but I mean.
That means you're not doing it Thursday when you're there either. So.
True.
You might be a both.
Man, I wish I had that.
Entertain a motion to approve item 6 there.
So moved.
Second.
Shelley, second. We have a motion and a second with Shelley. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries. 7 is employments.
Quite a few of them. It's that employment season, but some of the things that I highlight on there is that we do have the volunteer stipend that is utilizing some stipends that we didn't use for their purpose in the CBA, and we're doing that for a couple of our volunteer coaches who have spent a lot of time going over and above for their particular sports. We'd like to welcome Rebecca Hofer in as our cheer coach. Also welcoming Jasmine Miller. Used to be Oliveras, so we'll have almost the whole family employed. She is going to be coming on as a counselor. Amy Thompson is coming back as an interventions teacher. It was a very short-lived retirement for her. So those would be the highlights I have.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve item 7.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Item 8 is transfers.
They are mostly coaching transfers. We have one teacher transfer. Michelle Hollowell is transferring from 2nd grade teacher at primary to a Title I teacher at the intermediate building.
Entertain a motion to approve 8.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Do we have any fall coaching positions still open?
Not to my knowledge.
We don't. Okay.
I haven't heard of any, but
No, I was just curious. I know the cheerleading one was the last big one,
Yeah.
but
Tennis is.
last I knew Ryan was going to do tennis again.
I drove by and seen him out there
Yeah.
last week or
Been out
this
there.
week. So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? And abstain. 2 abstain, Brett and
Kara.
Kara. Okay. Oh yeah, he is on there. Okay. And 9 is volunteer.
Yeah, so these are all volunteer coaches for the football team, all on here at Coach Wogelman's request, and it's pretty fun to see some of our recent graduates coming back to help the football team.
Yeah, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Rob with the second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries. And 10 is retirement.
We have one retirement to talk to you about, and that is Jim Sparrow at the second shift custodian at junior senior high. After many years of service here at Lakeland, he is retiring at the end of this month. Is that correct? End of July?
Yes.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries. 11 is resignations, A through C.
Yep. All coaching staff resignations.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries. 12 is the consent agenda, A through E.
The only thing I would point out on the consent agenda is that we do have that request to utilize unused coaching stipends on there, which is something that we've been doing the last couple years, finding different ways to use that.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion does carry. Public comments now. Board member comments.
Where are we with, employment? We have all our slots filled.
We have the majority of them filled. I believe there's still some special ed openings, para openings.
Special ed teachers.
And then we have a second grade teacher opening, I think, right? Because Michelle transferred. But I believe that might be all.
Speech language pathologist,
yes.
second grade teacher, para, second shift custodian, but teacher wise, we're doing pretty good. Good.
Yeah.
This is pretty good for this time of year,
Yeah, it
to be
is.
honest.
Knock on wood.
Okay, calendar review, if no other board member comments. Is August 12th, the day before school starts. 6:30 here in the boardroom. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?